Before we start, please make sure to like this video and hit this subscribe button so you never miss a story like this. And also comments where you are watching from, how many sons and daughters you have. Thanks. My name is Serafina Vale, and I have been married to Dorian Vale for 35 years. 35 years of laughter, tears, quiet dinners, family vacations, anniversaries, arguments, reconciliations, and countless ordinary days that blended into what most would call a good life. From the outside, we were the picture of a devoted couple. People whispered words like perfect marriage and role models. But what they didn't know was that every smile I gave Dorian came with a shadow inside me. Every time he said "I love you, Sarah," I felt a knife twist deeper in my chest. Because I knew something he didn't. Something I had buried so deep that even I sometimes pretended it didn't exist. Dorian is a good man. Too good, perhaps. He has never once raised his voice in cruelty, never once made me feel unloved, never once let our children doubt his devotion. When we were younger, he worked long nights to provide for us, still coming home with tired eyes but a soft grin, eager to hold the babies or help me wash bottles in the kitchen sink. He never complained when we couldn't afford the big things, a new car, a bigger house, fancier clothes. He always said, as long as we're together, we have everything we need. We had 3 children together, or at least, that's what he believes. Alara, our firstborn, with her sharp wit and a smile that could light up the darkest rooms. She's 28 now, married to a man Dorian calls the son I never had. Cashin, our middle child, 32, quiet but strong, the type of man who carries his family's burdens without complaint. And Nevin, our youngest at 24, still finding his place in the world but with a heart so big it scares me sometimes. They love their father. They adore him. To them, he is the pillar of stability, the man they turn to for advice, for comfort, for jokes over Sunday dinner. But if they only knew. Tonight, Dorian and I are supposed to celebrate our 35th wedding anniversary. The children insisted on arranging a dinner at a beautiful restaurant downtown, complete with speeches, laughter, and a slideshow of our memories. They wanted to be a surprise, though, of course, they couldn't hide it from me. And tonight, I've decided I can't keep my secret anymore. For 35 years, I've carried the weight of a lie so heavy it has bent me into someone I hardly recognize. I've smiled through guilt, raised toasts with trembling hands, and pretended that love alone was enough to bury the truth. But love isn't enough. Not anymore. As I sit in front of the vanity mirror, putting on the pearl necklace Dorian gave me for our 10th anniversary, I see the reflection of a woman who looks composed. But inside, I am unraveling. Mom, are you ready? Alara's voice calls from the hallway, cheerful and impatient, like she always is. One moment, darling, I reply, forcing steadiness into my tone. I glance at the small envelope lying on the dresser beside me. My hands tremble as I touch it. On its surface, in shaky handwriting, are 2 words. The truth. It's everything I've never said. Every word I've rehearsed in my head but never dared to speak aloud. The story of how the children they adore as Dorian's are not his. My chest tightens as I slip the envelope into my handbag. Tonight, one way or another, he will know. When I step into the hallway, Dorian is waiting for me in his suit, smiling the way he always has when he sees me dressed up. His eyes soften, and for a moment, I wish I could erase what I'm about to do. You look beautiful, Sarah, he says simply, his hand brushing mine. And I think, how can I do this to him? How can I destroy the very foundation of his world after 35 years of trust? But the truth is like a storm that has raged inside me for decades. It cannot stay contained forever. We arrive at the restaurant, where our children greet us with laughter, flowers, and hugs. There's music playing softly, and fairy lights strung across the ceiling. Alara fusses with my hair, Cashin pulls out my chair, and Nevin jokes about how we're the oldest lovebirds in the room. Dorian beams at all of them, his pride palpable. I watch him, my stomach twisting. Dinner begins. Glasses clink. Stories are shared. Alara stands first, raising her glass. To Mom and Dad, 35 years of love, sacrifice, and loyalty. If I can have even half of what you two have, I'll consider myself blessed. The table cheers. Dorian squeezes my hand. I force a smile. But inside, my heart is screaming. Because they don't know. None of them know. And as the laughter continues around me, I reach into my handbag, brushing my fingers over the envelope. I feel the weight of it, the weight of 3.5 decades of lies. And I whisper silently to myself. Tonight, Serafina. Tonight, it all comes undone. I wasn't always Mrs. Serafina Vale. Long before the white dress and vows, I was just Serafina, 20 years old, reckless, hungry for love, and utterly foolish. Back then, my world revolved around a man named Lucien Draymont. He was everything Dorian wasn't. Dangerous, magnetic, with eyes that carried secrets and promises I couldn't resist. He lit like fire, burning fast, burning bright, leaving ashes behind. And I was addicted to that flame. When Lucien looked at me, it felt as if I were the only woman in the universe. When he touched me, the rest of the world blurred away. My friends warned me. My mother warned me. But I was too far gone to listen. Dorian was in my life even then, kind, steady Dorian. He worked at my father's repair shop part-time while studying engineering. He was safe. Predictable. The sort of man any girl would be lucky to marry. But I didn't want safe. Not at 20. Not when Lucien whispered about running away, about adventures, about a life untethered by rules. I believed him. God, I believed every word. And then one night, a night that I replay in my mind even now, everything changed. It was late summer. The air was warm, and the sound of crickets hummed outside Lucien's small apartment. He had poured us glasses of cheap red wine, and we sat on his old couch, laughing about nothing and everything. One moment, I was in his arms, his lips tracing fire down my neck. The next, he was pulling away, his expression serious, distant. I'm leaving, Sarah, he said quietly. I laughed at first, thinking it was one of his jokes. But his eyes didn't soften. Leaving? For how long? Not for a trip. For good. The room spun. What are you talking about? He explained that he had plans, bigger than this town, bigger than me. He wanted to travel, to chase opportunities, to live free without ties. Marriage, children, stability. Those weren't in his vocabulary. And just like that, the ground beneath me cracked. I remember begging him not to go. I remember clinging to him, desperate, terrified. But Lucien kissed me hard one last time, and that night, in the chaos of heartbreak, we fell into each other with a desperation I can't even describe. That night left me with more than memories. Weeks later, I stood in my bathroom, staring at the positive pregnancy test in my trembling hands. Lucien was already gone by then. No phone calls, no letters, no explanations. Just silence. And me? I was alone. I thought about chasing him down, but where would I even begin? And even if I found him, would he want this child? I already knew the answer. It was Dorian who stepped in without hesitation. He had been my friend since childhood, always lingering quietly on the edges of my chaos. When he learned I was alone, heartbroken, and lost, he didn't ask for explanations. He simply showed up. With groceries, with kind words, with his steady presence. One evening, he asked me to marry him. It wasn't the most romantic proposal, no candlelit dinner, no ring hidden in champagne. Just Dorian, standing in my parents' living room, saying, Sarah, I know you're hurting. I know life hasn't gone the way you wanted. But I love you. I've always loved you. And I want to be here for you and for the baby. My heart should have leapt. But instead, I felt something cold settle inside me. Because he didn't know the truth. He thought the child growing inside me was his. I could have told him right then. I should have told him. That was my chance. But I looked into his earnest eyes, saw the hope flickering there, and I lied. Yes, I whispered. Yes, Dorian. I'll marry you. And so, the lie began. When Alara was born, Dorian wept as he held her. His hands shook, his eyes glistened, his smile was brighter than the sun itself. She's perfect, Sarah, he said, kissing my forehead. Our little girl. I remember turning away so he wouldn't see the guilt in my eyes. But it didn't end there. The years rolled on, and with them came Cashin and Nuvan. Each time, I told myself I would confess. Each time, the words burned on the tip of my tongue. And each time, I swallowed them, too afraid of what the truth would do. Yet there were moments, terrifying moments, when I thought the truth might slip out without my control. Like when Cashin was born, and the nurse, a woman with sharp eyes, leaned close to me and whispered. He doesn't look like your husband, does he? Her words froze my blood. I forced a smile, dismissing her, but the seed of fear grew stronger that day. And so I built a life on silence. Dorian never questioned. He loved them, he loved me, with a faith so blind it broke my heart. He worked long hours, read bedtime stories, showed up at every school event. He taught Cashin to ride a bike, braided Alara's hair when I was too busy, helped Nuvan build his first treehouse. And I watched, year after year, as the lie grew bigger, heavier, darker. Now, 35 years later, the weight has become unbearable. Because the truth I buried so long ago refuses to stay buried. The memory fades as I sit in the restaurant tonight, watching Dorian laugh with our children. My hands tremble under the table, gripping the edge. And just as Alara raises another toast, my eyes flicker to the window. And that's when I see him. A man outside, standing in the shadows. Even after all these years, I know that face. Lucien. The room is warm with laughter, clinking glasses, and the hum of conversation. The scent of roasted garlic and herbs drifts from the kitchen, and golden light from the chandeliers softens every face at the table. Dorian sits beside me, his hand resting gently on mine, his eyes full of joy as our children speak about the love he's given them. To anyone looking in, we are a family celebrating a remarkable milestone. But I can't feel the joy. Because through the window, in the shadows beyond the glass, I've seen a ghost from my past. Lucien. Even after 35 years, I know him instantly. His hair, once raven black, is streaked with silver now. His jaw is sharper, his shoulders broader, but those eyes are the same. Piercing, magnetic, dangerous. My breath catches in my throat. My fork clatters against the plate. Mom? Alara whispers, leaning toward me. Are you okay? I force a smile, nodding. Yes, darling. Just a bit, overwhelmed. But my heart pounds in my chest like a drum. I glance toward the window again. The space is empty now. For a moment I wonder if I imagined him, if guilt has conjured him from memory. But no. That look was too sharp, too real. He was there. Watching. And if he's here, why? The dinner continues. Cashin stands to speak, his voice steady, filled with quiet pride. Dad, he begins, I know I don't say much, but everything I am, the discipline, the strength, the values, it's because of you. You've always been my compass. Dorian smiles, eyes glistening. I see his chest rise with emotion, his hand squeezing mine. And the knife twists deeper. Because those values, that strength, Cashin inherited them not from Dorian, but from Lucien. I sip my wine to keep from trembling. Nuvan follows, his grin wide, his words casual but heartfelt. You're not just my dad, you're my best friend. You never judged me, even when I screwed up. You just stood by me. And I'll never forget that. Cheers rise again. Dorian wipes at his eyes, laughing as everyone claps. And I sit there, suffocating under the weight of it all. Halfway through dessert, I excuse myself, slipping away from the table. My hands shake as I push open the door to the hallway leading to the restrooms. The noise of laughter fades behind me, replaced by the quiet echo of my heels against the polished floor. And then I feel it. A presence. Still running, Sarah? The voice is deeper now, roughened by years, but it slices through me like glass. I turn. Lucien steps out from the shadows near the coat rack. He's dressed in a dark suit, but it's his eyes that paralyze me. Those same stormy eyes that once promised me the world, and left me shattered. For a moment, neither of us speaks. Time folds, and I am 20 again, standing in his apartment, begging him not to leave. My voice trembles. What are you doing here? His lips curl into a smirk. Watching. Remembering. And wondering how long you thought you could keep this, Serafina? Dorian's voice is soft but heavy, weighted with confusion. He looks at me, his brow slightly furrowed, the gift bag dangling from his hand. I force a smile, though my chest feels like it might cave in. Dorian, you startled me. Who was that man? His eyes flicked to the hallway where Lucien vanished. What did he mean? Tell them yourself. The words hit me like a blow. My throat tightens. Panic claws at me. I don't know. He must have mistaken me for someone else, I stammer, reaching for Dorian's arm. Come on, let's go back before the kids wonder where we are. But Dorian doesn't move. His eyes, warm, trusting eyes I've known for decades, search mine, looking for answers. Serafina, he says slowly, don't lie to me. My lips part, but no sound comes out. For a moment, we just stand there, caught in a silence heavier than any words. And then, mercifully, the hallway door swings open, and Alara pokes her head in. There you are. Everyone's waiting for the cake. She beams, oblivious to the tension, before disappearing again. Dorian sighs, brushing a hand over his face. We'll talk later. My heart lurches. Later. Later, when the children aren't around, when Lucien's words aren't ringing in the air, when the truth can no longer hide. I nod, forcing composure, and we return to the table. The cake is beautiful, white frosting, golden roses, and a delicate script that reads 35 years strong. Cameras flash, laughter bubbles, and the children chant for us to cut the first slice together. I smile, I laugh, I pose for photos. On the surface, I am the picture of a happy wife celebrating decades of love. But inside, I am unraveling. Because in every shadow of that restaurant, I imagine Lucien watching. Waiting. And in every stolen glance at Dorian, I see suspicion now where once there was only trust. The dinner finally ends. Hugs are exchanged, gifts are loaded into the car, and Alara insists we'll have brunch together tomorrow. By the time Dorian and I arrive home, it's nearly midnight. The house is quiet, the rooms bathed in moonlight. I head upstairs, slipping out of my heels, while Dorian lingers by the front door. When he joins me in the bedroom, he doesn't smile. He doesn't speak. He simply sets the gift bags on the dresser and sits on the edge of the bed, his hands clasped tightly together. Serafina, he says quietly, who was that man? My heart pounds. I open my mouth, close it again. My hands twist in the folds of my dress. He's someone from my past, I whisper finally. Dorian's eyes narrow. What kind of past? I look at him, at the man who has loved me faithfully for 35 years, and guilt almost crushes me. Please, Dorian, I whisper. Not tonight. I'll explain. I promise. He studies me for a long moment. Then he nods once, slowly, and lies back on his side of the bed. His silence is louder than any accusation. I don't sleep that night. I sit in the dark, staring at the envelope in my handbag. The truth. It feels like it burns against my palm when I touch it. And when the clock strikes 2 a.m., the doorbell rings. I freeze. Who would come at this hour? Dorian stirs. Who on earth? I rush downstairs before he can rise. My heart knows before my eyes confirm. I open the door, and there he is. Lucien. Leaning casually against the frame, his smirk sharp in the pale glow of the porch light. What are you doing here? I hiss, stepping outside, pulling the door behind me so Dorian won't hear. You didn't think I'd just disappear again, did you? His tone is mocking, cruel. Not when my children are right here. Not when I've been absent long enough. They are not your children, I snap, my voice breaking. You forfeited that right the day you walked away. Lucien tilts his head, studying me. You kept them from me. You lied to them, to him, to yourself. But you can't hide forever. He steps closer, his breath brushing my ear. Tell them. Or I will. My pulse roars in my ears. You don't understand what this would do. It would destroy them. It would destroy him. Lucien's eyes glint. Then maybe it's time for destruction. And then, the creak of the front door. I turn in horror. Dorian stands in the doorway, robe tied loosely, eyes wide. He looks from me to Lucien, then back again. His voice is low, steady, and laced with something I've never heard before, coldness. Serafina, he says, what is he talking about? The night air freezes. My throat closes. My secret teeters on the edge, seconds from shattering. And for the first time in 35 years, I have no words. The world seemed to still around us. The night air was sharp, and the only sounds were the rustling of leaves and the faint creak of the porch swing. Dorian stood in the doorway, his eyes fixed on me, not with the warmth I'd known for 35 years, but with something else. Something colder. Something that made my chest ache. Lucien smirked, enjoying the scene like a spectator at a cruel play. Well, he drawled. Going to tell him, Serafina? Or should I? Stop, I whispered, my voice trembling. Please, just stop. Dorian's voice cut through the silence. Tell me what? For a moment, I thought about lying again. About reaching for one of the 1,000 excuses I'd sharpened over the years. But the truth pressed against my throat, too heavy to contain anymore. My hand shook as I turned to face the man who had given me everything. Dorian, I whispered, the children. Elara, Cashin, Nuven, my breath hitched. They're not yours. The words shattered in the air between us, fragile and brutal all at once. Dorian's face went blank, as if his mind couldn't process what he'd just heard. His lips parted, but no sound came out. I pressed on, the dam finally breaking. Lucien, he was the man I loved before you. When you asked me to marry you, I was already pregnant with Elara. And then Cashin, and then Nuven, they were his too. My chest heaved. But you raised them. You loved them. You are their father, Dorian. You always have been. The silence that followed was unbearable. Lucien folded his arms, his smirk deepening. There. The truth, at last. Dorian's eyes flickered between us, dark with disbelief. Then, slowly, he stepped back, into the house, his hand gripping the doorframe as if it were the only thing holding him upright. You, his voice cracked. You let me believe they were mine. For 35 years, Serafina. Tears blurred my vision. I wanted to tell you. I tried. But every time I looked at you, every time you held them, every time you smiled, my voice broke. I couldn't. I couldn't destroy you like that. Destroy me? His laugh was hollow, broken. You already did. Lucien's presence made the moment unbearable. This isn't your stage, I snapped at him, my voice raw. Leave us. But he only shrugged. They deserve to know who their real father is. You're not their father, I spat, surprising even myself with the venom in my voice. You gave them nothing. You disappeared. You chose yourself. Dorian gave them everything. He is the only father they will ever have. For once, Lucien had no reply. His smirk faltered, and his gaze darkened. With a bitter chuckle, he turned and disappeared into the night, leaving only the echo of his footsteps behind. And then there was just Dorian. Standing in the doorway. Silent. Shattered. I reached for him, but he stepped back. "Don't," he said hoarsely. "Please," I begged, tears streaming down my face. "I love you, Dorian. I always have. You're the love of my life. I made mistakes, but I chose you. I stayed with you. Doesn't that mean anything?" His eyes glistened, but his jaw tightened. "It means everything, and nothing. The children. I thought of them upstairs in their own homes, sleeping peacefully, unaware that the ground beneath their lives had just cracked open. What will we tell them?" I whispered. Dorian didn't answer. He turned, walked inside, and closed the door softly behind him. I sank onto the porch steps, sobbing into my hands, the weight of 35 years pressing down on me. For the first time, the lie was gone, but in its place was an emptiness far worse. The sun was rising when I finally stumbled into the kitchen. My eyes were swollen, my body heavy. The house was eerily quiet. On the table, I found a folded piece of paper with my name written across it in Dorian's familiar handwriting. My heart pounded as I picked it up. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Was this his goodbye? Was he leaving me after all these years? With trembling hands, I unfolded the letter. It was short. Simple. "Serafina. I already knew. I've always known. I was only waiting for you to be brave enough to tell me." I gasped, clutching the paper. Tears spilled down my cheeks, not from guilt this time, but from a devastation I couldn't name. Dorian had known all along. And yet, he had stayed. Loved me. Loved them. Loved us. Not because of blood. Not because of truth. But because his love had never needed either.